the rope, I think. Wait. Hurry!
Hello everyone and welcome to another movie review and recap. Today we'll be looking at the 2008 horror film, The Ruins. So here's the deal. We got 4 friends chilling on vacation in Mexico. They get invited to go check out a digging site and are led to a Mayan temple. Seems like fun, but soon they realize this isn't your classic been there for years Mayan temple. It's a spooky Mayan temple that carries an interesting secret. Now I didn't watch the trailer for this movie because I wanted to be surprised, and boy was I. When I was reading the description for the movie on HBO Max, it brought up that they would be hunted by a carnivorous terror, which is true. Just not what I had in mind. I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. It's not the best, nor did it leave me wanting more or anything like that. It's just a fine movie. Now before we take a deep look inside the ruins of this video, oh, see what I did there? Make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the video for more movie fun. Now let's recap just what's going on inside the ruins. So we kick off our journey with a girl crying and screaming for help, which gives me the feeling that something isn't right here, but that's just my guess. She tries to dial her phone for help, but it doesn't seem to be working. She's then quickly dragged off screen, never to be seen again. Now we jump over to 4 friends chilling by the pool somewhere in Mexico. It's 2 couples, Jeff and his girlfriend Amy, as well as Eric and his girlfriend Stacy. They're just hanging out when a guy named Matheus shows up and they offer him a drink. He's going to be headed to a digging site where there will supposedly be a Mayan temple. Matheus invites the group of friends to go with him the next day. He seems like a nice guy, and it's one of the last days on their trip, so they agree to go. Going on an adventure in Mexico with a guy you just met looks like we're off to a great start. There's a scene where later that night, Jeff heads to bed and Amy's all drunk and stuff, and she kisses Matheus. It's not super important, but it gets mentioned a few times, so I thought I'd bring it up now. The next day, Matheus, one of his buddies, Eric, Stacy, Jeff, and a hungover Amy leave for the Mayan temple. Matheus's brother Dimitri doesn't pick them up like he was supposed to, so they just have to take a taxi. The taxi driver says where they're trying to go is very dangerous, but hey, he's getting paid the big bucks, so he takes them anyways. They reach an entrance to a jungle-like area, and they see Dimitri's car left nearby. They follow Matheus's map and are led to a little stream where a path should lead them to the temple. There are 2 Mayan kids just standing off in the distance watching them. Yikes, children. Matheus uncovers a hidden path and the group is on their way again. They arrive at the temple and Amy starts to take pictures. So far so good, it seems like. Then suddenly, a man on a horse rides up next to them and starts yelling at them in Mayan. More dudes on horses show up as well. They're all yelling at the group, and Matheus's friend thinks they want Amy's camera, cause you know, don't take pictures of our stuff, bro. They all have their weapons out, and when Matheus's friend starts to walk towards them, he gets an arrow right to his chest and a bullet right to the face. Holy shit. The Mayans force the others up the steps of the temple all the way to the top. At the top of the temple, there are a bunch of tents set up. They can't even call for help because Matheus's world phone got taken during all the commotion down there.
Down there?
They hear a phone ringing from a hole that leads to the ruins of the temple. Matheus ties a rope around his waist and decides to go down the hole on a pulley system. But halfway down, the rope breaks, sending him down the hole, and all we hear is a thud. By God, that man had a family, damn it! One of the girls have to go down there and check on him, and it's Stacy who volunteers as tribute. She's near the bottom, and she sees Matheus, who's surprisingly still alive. A little fucked up. But hey, he's still alive. Just a broken back, no big deal. I mean, who needs feeling in their legs anyway? Stacy jumps off the rope to try and help, but she accidentally cuts herself with some glass from the lantern she was holding. Dang, that knee is all sorts of messed up. Then we go over to Amy, who's at the bottom of the temple asking the Mayans for help. She's obviously very confused and upset, so she grabs a piece of nearby shrubbery and yeets it at some Mayan kid in anger. The other Mayans start freaking out and yelling, and then they fucking shoot that kid. Wow. Something is definitely not right with this place if that's the response to a bit of leaves touching you. While down in the ruins with Matheus, Stacy hears some rustling in the leaves. Jeff and Eric have made a makeshift harness with some of the supplies they've found on top of the temple, so they send it down the hole with Amy to grab Matheus and Stacy. As Stacy and Amy pick Matheus off the ground, you can hear his bones crunching. Yikes. Jeff and Eric finally get Matheus and the girls back to the top. Operation Rescue Matheus is actually a success. As the group are looking for more supplies in the tents, they find Dimitri's keys to the Jeep as well as his plane ticket. They're hoping Dimitri's friends will come looking for them once he doesn't show up for his flight the next day. Matheus looks pretty banged up and Jeff says he's at risk of dying from infection. Then we cut to morning and we see Jeff doing what most of us do when we wake up, taking a leak. He looks in some bushes and he finds a watch. Nice. Then he finds a skull. Not as nice, but hey, a souvenir's a souvenir. Stacy then wakes up in her tent and finds vines all over her cut, and they're also inside her cut. Gross. Her and Eric start ripping the vines from around her leg, and then Eric pulls out a long squirmy vine out of her cut. Matheus himself then feels something not right with his legs. Amy goes to pull the cover off his legs, and his legs are covered in those bastard vines. There's also some grassy substance starting to cover the gang's clothes. Dang. I might have to think twice now when people tell me to go touch grass. They once again hear a phone ringing down in the ruins. With torches in hand, Amy and Stacy once again go down into the hole and try to see what's up.
That's where it's coming.
They hear the ringing coming from a giant area covered in those silly little plants. Stacy doesn't want to go in, but Amy convinces her that, hey, this is like our only way to get help, bro. They enter in and hear the phone ringing once again. There's a dude slumped over in a corner. And although he's definitely dead, he does have a phone. But when the ringing starts up again, it's not the phone that's going off. Amy goes to where the ringing is actually coming from, and it's no phone. It's a wall of flowers. These little red flowers are mimicking the sound of a cell phone ringing. They attack Amy and shit starts to hit the fan. They both make it to the rope. Stacy nearly gets pulled away by those creepy vines, but they make it back to the top of the temple, avoiding being plant food for all the vines below them. Amy wants to leave and Eric wants to make a run for Dimitri'S Jeep. Jeff, however, believes they should stay, thinking that surely help will be on the way at some point. Later, we see them all rationing off their food and water, and oh boy is Matheus in bad shape. Jeff's in medical school, by the way. He hopes to become a doctor, which is cool. Chase your dreams, Jeff. I believe in you. Anyways, Jeff says the only way to keep Matheus from dying due to infection is to cut off his legs.
Please, tell me you're joking.
Eric's like, what the fuck, bro? But they take a vote, and at the end, Matheus just says to do it.
Cuts him off.
Here's where things get really messy, so a warning to those that are a little squeamish. Eric holds one of Matheus's legs down and Jeff breaks the leg with a rock nearby. Then he proceeds to cut the leg off, which, oh man, do they not shy away from showing this, operation. He finishes off the other leg and oh boy, are Stacy and Amy pissed. Jeff said that Matheus wouldn't feel a thing, but judging by his screaming, I think it's safe to say he felt it. While they're arguing, vines come and freaking take off with Matheus' severed legs. Later that night, Jeff is walking at the bottom of the temple, watching the Mayans who are still camped out in front of him, making sure him and the others don't leave. Amy and Eric are discussing about what options are left. Eric is still planning on going for the Jeep. From inside the tent, Stacy hears the sound of Eric and Amy fooling around. So she confronts them, and boy, she's pissed.
I heard you.
You heard me what?
I heard you fucking her.
Excuse me?
They weren't actually fooling around though. It was the plants making the noises and making Stacy believe that's what Amy and Eric were doing. Stacy heard what she heard though, and they all start to try to keep her cool. While they're all arguing, the vines are back and they slither like snakes and go down Matheus' throat, choking him to death. That's a wrap on our boy Matheus. He hung in there for a little bit and he tried his best. But dang, what a bitch of a couple days it's been for him.
Well, thank God we cut his legs off.
Shut up.
Stacy then starts to freak out because she thinks the plants are gonna kill her like they killed Matheus. The plants continue to mock Stacy's cries.
You're not listening
It's morning time once again, and maybe today will go a bit smoother. Eric calls Amy and Jeff to come into the tent, and Stacy lifts up the back of her shirt to reveal one of the vines squirming under her skin. Oh boy. It's time for Jeff, the temple surgeon, to get back to work. Jeff cuts into Stacy's leg and pulls out one of the little wormy boys. Then he cuts into her back and he pulls out a bigger wormy boy. Oh my god. Stacy feels more of those vines inside of her and she wants to cut more, but her friends tell her that it's enough and she just needs to calm down and everything's fine. But when they're all sitting outside, they see one squirming in her head. Stacy rightfully starts freaking out, but the others just try to keep her calm because, like, cutting into her head, that's kind of madness, so maybe we should chill. Later, while Jeff, Amy, and Eric are napping, Stacy is up and looking around for something outside the tent. She finds a knife. The flowers all around her mimicking when she said, "I want to cut it." The others wake up to hear Stacy crying, and they leave the tent to find Stacy with a big-ass cut in the middle of her head. She's cutting a big slice of her thigh off, and she's bleeding all over. Jeff goes to take the knife from her, but Stacy slices his hand open in retaliation. Well, Jeff, it was nice knowing you. It's then Eric's turn to try to get the knife away from her, and Stacy stabs Eric right in the chest. Ouch. Eric's breathing slowly stops and he dies right next to Stacy. The vines come out and try to pull Eric's dead body away, and Jeff tries to rip them off. Stacy, obviously traumatized and in a lot of pain, begs Amy to kill her over and over again. "Your wish is my command," says Jeff, and he takes the knife out of Eric's chest and kills Stacy off screen. Without any options left, Jeff smears blood over Amy and he has a plan. Amy plays dead as Jeff carries her down the steps of the temple and he sets her down on the ground. He starts ranting to the Mayan people keeping guard at the bottom. He walks closer and closer to them and gives Amy the signal to get up and run away.
Her name.
He gets a few arrows in him for his troubles. It did, however, distract the Mayans long enough for Amy to run into the jungle. The vines slowly start to pull Jeff away as he's slowly dying, so the head Mayan guy shoots Jeff off screen to end his misery. Avoiding a couple arrows on her way, Amy finally makes it to Dimitri'S Jeep and is able to drive away. We then cut to two of Dimitri'S friends who, believe it or not, did eventually show up to look for him. A little too late, guys. They come across the temple and then the movie ends. However, there are two alternate endings. The first one is Amy driving away in the Jeep, but then she notices she as well has a little vine wormy right under her eye. Pretty spooky. But my personal favorite ending is where we see a graveyard worker walking in a cemetery and he's whistling a little song. He then hears the whistling being repeated. It's coming from a nearby gravestone. It's Amy's gravestone, and right next to it are the little red flowers from the temple. There you have it, The Ruins. I honestly liked it. It does no harm, it has suspenseful moments and characters you can root for. The gore is wild, but they don't completely go overboard with it, which is a good thing depending on who you ask. I originally thought it was going to be some monster or animal hunting down our main group of characters because of the fact it mentioned a carnivorous terror, and even though it was not what I was expecting, I was not disappointed at all. This movie is based off a novel written by Scott Smith, which I didn't know before watching, so that's cool I guess. Smith also wrote the screenplay for this movie, so hopefully it turned out the way he wanted. I want to keep scoring these movies I cover, but it's hard to give a number 1 through 10, because I like movies for different reasons. So I've come up with a new way to score the movies I cover on the channel. I'm going to look at the Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb score to see what the general thoughts are, and then I'll say whether I think it's a fair score, too high, or not high enough. For The Ruins, the Rotten Tomatoes audience score is a 30%, and I'm going to have to say, what the hell is wrong with you? It's not the best movie ever by any means, but I'd say it's pretty enjoyable throughout. For me personally, it made me question what I would do in these characters' situations, and I like movies that make me think about things like that. So I think a 30% is not high enough at all. On the critically acclaimed Nico-meter, I give this movie a 67%. Thank you all for watching. If you stuck all the way to the end, then coolio. Hope you like the new scoring method. It's mainly just so I can challenge people's opinion because I'm on the internet, and that's what people on the internet do. But in all seriousness, thanks for checking out the video. Comment what movies I should take a look at next. Dig into that subscribe button like a crazy ass vine digging into someone's open wound, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.